Going everybody, I'm going live about these fires. I live in California. I might have experience understanding from a front seat view of what's going on to some people out there. So I'm making this live, just waiting for people to come on the board. Okay, so while I drink some coffee, I don't see anybody clicking on yet. I have a small channel. I appreciate you watching. Feel free, if this is already uploaded and old news, to fast forward it. I think I have things to say about this that are relevant and would strike a chord with anybody, and they would know or understand where I'm coming from, and it's a valid plight. Thank you. So right now, I'm just looking at videos that I could probably recommend, or better yet, channels on this subject. How you doing? I'm about to recommend channels about this fire that's going on in LA that has been covering this on news, on my independent kind of news. I really like what's called LV Nation. LV, what would that be? Lima, Valentine Nation or something. Lima Victor Nation. So that'd be LV Nation. What's another guy that's a really good? Let me see. Anyways, if anybody, somebody clicked off already. I'm very boring or something, but live updates on the fire. I'm sure you guys are going to watch what you're going to watch, but I'm going to use this live or whatever as a warm up to do a video about what's going on. Okay, so I just made a playlist that says fires, California fires. I'm saying about a playlist about fires that I just made because I want people out there to know I may have a better understanding, like a bird's eye view or experience with this California crisis fire things, okay? People are blaming it on this, people are blaming it on that, and I grew up hiking a lot in Southern California. There's fires every year. Again, I'm going to iterate. I just made a playlist on this channel to prove I'm around fires very often. 3 out of 4 of those videos are just a few months old. And where it's the very last one that's glowing red in the background and stuff, I would show on my tablet it's charging. But long story short, they're blaming it on homeless people. And being a person, look, I want to show you guys something, okay? I want to get I'm furtive, or what's that called? Maintaining my privacy of where I work. I'm basically a fire watch. That's a bunch of cameras that if something goes down, I'm the first to respond to get the professional first responders, okay? So I give a shit about this topic, and I've been watching, I'm sure you have, a lot about this fires. I'm a Southern California resident. I go hiking, camping often. I'm not an arsonist, but starting campfires, okay? I'll give you an example, okay? I don't want to freak out the camera that I'm on. This is like a $300, $400 apparatus. This is the Tops SXB Skull Crusher. This is one of the biggest ferrocene rods you can buy. Okay, you get the point, right? And these fires in Southern California, if they're being, it has to be a terrorist attack, okay? I live more inland. We have a few fires every year, whether it's arson or natural, okay? I've seen crazy bums light trash on fire while they're dancing around going crazy on methamphetamine, right? And I'm just saying, as a person who's had a lot of roaming around experience, seeing all this, the places I have gone that are precariously probably able to start arson, where I'm camping, hiking, exploring, okay? If a person like me who has experience making a fire has a hard time making a freaking fire out there to stay warm, I doubt these crazy meth addicts who are like emaciated, they're always in the sun. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible, I'm just saying a random antisocial angry meth addict, okay, is really gonna traverse and hike with like no backpack or no gear, no cognitively stored water, and really like a person with no professional work ethic who has a very abstract, random, chaotic, drug-infested mind is gonna traverse and walk all the way up there to go start a nefarious fire. I'll give you an example. Okay, this is like TMI, but I was having like car relations with a girlfriend at this time, and I knew where there was a lot of these rundown factories that were abandoned, and that we could go and have some love fest and whatever, get the point. And I thought to myself, why is there no volatile crackheads living and being squatters in these abandoned warehouses and stuff like that? And it came upon me, I was like, the same lack of work ethic that these crackheads don't have to try to integrate into society is the same lack of work ethic that's going to make them. There's no buses that run there. This is like the end of the city. There's a bus that runs over, whatever. Because people argue, well, if it's a business place, no bus. I'm telling you, maybe they changed something. The bus didn't run there at the time. You have to walk a good ways, and so these bums, they never walked far enough to see that was all available because they're lazy. So, in a time where we have all these weird things going on, drones, people starting fires in New York, lighting people on fire, all this illegal migrant crime, you know what I'm saying? Like, while all this is popping off, and I've been living in Southern California since 1988 and being like a nature enthusiast, knowing how hard it is to start a freaking fire out there just to stay warm, some random crackhead waited until now to just go light the Palisades on fire? So some random antisocial crackhead that wants to see society and civilization burn, like the Joker or something like that, right? He waited, like, I've been roaming here and there. I've seen crazy bums. I've seen antisocial people. I've seen nihilists that are like, pretty much indigent or transient, right? So out of nowhere, where all these fields that you can light on fire and watch the city burn, that's been existing. I mean, California's like so hot. There's a bunch of brush, and you'll see if there's sometimes with the Santa Ana winds, you'll see tumbleweeds the size of cars, and so all that's been going on. And I've been alive on Earth like almost 20 years in both centuries, and some random crackhead waited until now to go do a mission and hike all the way up those hills to go light that on fire. Waited for the perfect time where the world's in chaos. We have, domestic terrorism. We have the brink of like World War III. We have weird stuff like drones and balloons from China, and all this rampant crime, and people crossing the border illegally with nefarious intent. Some purported from enemy countries, and then we had like the two guys that ran vehicles into those buildings at the start of this new year 2025. So we have all this domestic terrorism, all this chaos, and out of nowhere, global warming or some illegal crackhead finally had an epiphany in their methamphetamine induced state to drag their ass and hike their emaciated ass all the way up to the freaking hills. You know, most of the hills I go hiking over, there's no water. I mean, what are you gonna do? Bring like a Sawyer purification straw, or like I mean, man. So some freaking Bear Grylls crackhead finally became self-aware, and it dawned upon him that he could go up those hills. I mean, since like the 80s, since the 90s, since whatever. Finally waded into a crazy year like this, was like, the Trump. It just out of nowhere finally dawned upon them that they can go and start this nefarious fire. Or all of a sudden, the earth became self-aware, and the earth is now like, the earth is self-aware, whatever you want to believe, Gaia, whatever. The earth finally now is sick of our pollution and is starting to vomit hurricanes and hurricane force winds in the Santa Anas that drove those fires. It's finally starting to, earthquakes and potential tsunamis. Like finally, Mother Nature out of nowhere is like, oh, that's the straw that broke the camel's back. Somebody filled their lawnmower full of gas. That was the last straw. People don't want Tesla. People don't want electric vehicles. Well, now it's my revenge. So all of a sudden, the apocalypse and Mother Nature and sentient crackheads and global warming, all of a sudden, in my lifetime, finally, all at once, it finally, whoa, we could really F with these people, finally all came together and alive. So whether, like, Gavin Newsom knows it or not, the mayor, the DEI people, whatever, whether they know that they're being puppets or not, and someone shit up on them from up top, it's like, it's more than likely like how in Maui had those big ass fires, okay, and then voila, it's like like major billionaire celebs or big corporate people or like the government comes, seizes or buys the property, starts making like underground bunkers or whatever, or maybe what 10-minute cities they're called, or more like I don't know, electric vehicle fucking plantation chargers. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm semi-embellishing to cram everything I've been absorbing recently. But again, my whole point before I start trying to read comments and hello, how you doing, God bless America, before all that, I'm just saying, guys, I've been living in California for a long time. When a person goes hiking, survives Sasquatches, advances, all this stuff. And so now with all this crazy stuff going on in the world and terrorism, now finally, either Mother Nature's sick of our shit, because it's global warming, of course, or some random meth addict that lights trashes on fires and starts like doing gangster signs at nothing, right? Talking to themselves and yelling at nothing. Finally, they became like Bear Grylls, became aware that they can like avenge the world and inflict violence on a larger scale. Found like a bottle of piss water, dumped it out, went to a water fountain, put that in a backpack with like, and then like went to a smoke shop like all with their crazy crackhead ass. Because believe me, you will get evicted if you're some ludicrous ass crazy person. They think that people, I just noticed from like social media, I talk to friends on whatever, you don't have any friends, or yeah, whatever. So they think California is a constant fiasco of a gay parade with earthquakes and tsunamis and like and fires, and they're always, you okay? And I kind of tell them, and homeless people just taking a crap everywhere with their wangs hanging out. And I was like, no, like there is like some conservatism, and I live in the southern desert ghetto part of California before it becomes a real desert, like Palm Springs and Death Valley, whatever. And you'll get your ass kicked. You will, like, if you're loitering and look stupid or ugly, no, Karen and Gentrification Patrol will get your fucking ass out of there. So what I'm all saying is, these crazy crackheads that I see living in like torn tents and lighting their trash on fire, they finally realized that they can inflict their misery upon the world by finally getting their shit together, being Bear Grylls, going all the way up the Palisades and starting that fire. And they know astrology and shit and weather, because they know it was exactly going to be a really crazy season for Santa Ana winds in that area. And they scared some local smoke shop guy buying a freaking blowtorch, right? Looking all stupid and ugly and lost and demonic without getting evicted from Karen or the police. Then got a freaking JanSport backpack from Ross and shoplifted all this crap in there. Then they walked up a bunch of freaking... Dude, you know how I have some videos that are really boring? Do you know how hard I go... Idlewild is really far away from the Palisades. I understand how hard it is to traverse in this California desert full of thorns, through bushes and cactuses and all this itchy shit and straws. And there's blaring sun every day from noon to 2, year round almost, right? So these crackheads, some random crackhead, finally got his shit together to go be a nuisance to the whole world. Out of all this time, finally became aware that he could go up there, start that fire, and watch the world burn. So obviously, right, because the liberal media is going to tell you it was vandalism, which I'm trying to say, okay, whatever. How hard is that, man? How accurate do you have to be? How organized do you have to be? I'm not saying the vandalism isn't impossible. I'm not saying that it wasn't arson. I'm saying that if it was arson, it's sophisticated. It's coordinated, because, again, man, for everything I just been saying, man, to know this is going to be the right time of year, the right place, and how to get the wind to really hit that fire, because this isn't the movies. You can't go camping and click 2 rocks together and freaking and then have a poof fire. It's not the movie. Starting a fire is freaking hard. Okay, you got to kind of know what the hell you're doing. You got to know the right tinder and all this. So you get the point. Or Mother Nature, because it's global warming, finally is sick of our shit. And then all at once, I mean, this didn't happen in 2000. It didn't happen when the Mayan apocalypse was supposed to happen in 2012. It didn't happen some really, really hot day in 1990 something. It waited all at once until now, of course. And yes, I do believe in weather manipulation technology. Supposedly it's in the books. And so, yeah, that's being a lifelong or almost lifelong California resident and going out there and having a lot of face-to-face freaking circumstance with fire, not heroically, not on a professional level. I just made a playlist saying California fire. That's random. That's the fastest thing I could find in my phone. That's very recent. I run in the fire all the time. The very last video is bad quality. You can see in the distance a glowing red, and the freeways just cut off. The fires in California, they will affect your life. Where I'm at, you can get trapped in this town. There's only so many. The detours that they're available to get out, they take forever. They're jammed. I have a bunch of stories. I'm kind of rambling, but this one street around here, I'm kind of furtive or private. I don't really want to give my exact location. Pretty dangerous. I'm pretty sure someone tried to carjack me, but it's a long story. Started yelling at them. I started acting like I was armed. And the funny thing is, I live in California, right? Locked away, shoved up my ass, all legal, all respect and fear for the authorities. I did have means to protect myself. It was locked away, jammed up my ass. I had a less than lethal pistol that looked real. I always have a hunting knife or something. So I started acting. I was going to use that as a deterrent. Started yelling at you get the point. You imagine you're on a road. It's one-way road, right? And the people that are in front and behind of you just start going close, slower and slower and slower. It's obviously going to be boxed in. get the point. So it's an ass backwards. It's an ass backwards freaking thought process. And I mean, for being a California resident, what I'm trying to get at is, okay, so I'm pro First and Second Amendment, of course, all the way. I was seeing this video earlier today. This dude showing how he's armed and all that. Then he puts on this badass cowboy hat, right? I'm like, bro, man, you're a badass dude, but you live somewhere where everybody's like howdy, and they're all like red state, and they're all like neighborly, right? A lot of places that you live that you could precariously F up and get jacked, or, you know, I gotta look and see, they're just turning around. All this stuff, man. We live in the city, where a bunch of different demographics that many don't like each other are smashed together. And the functional ones know how to get along, even though it doesn't look like that in traffic. Traffic's a war. But the ones that are outliers because, you know, AKA they have done meth in their life and now they're constantly paranoid and confrontational. Those are, there's just, things can clash. Oh man, it's just, So I've been here for a long time, and long story short is, I really doubt those fires, if nefariously catalyzed by arson, it's like organized. It's like somebody knew what was going on. Because the Santa Ana winds, you can't really, you know, it's not like a specific time they come. You know, they could come in late December, early January. I heard they could even start in November. And somebody capitalized being at the right place and right time. And the winds this year, I heard, are especially different and exacerbated or whatever. And you get the point. And they're aimed at a place, because it's my understanding, look at, man, like I live in the Inland Empire, you'll see diesels that are flipped over on like the 15 freeway and all that. That's, especially with gridlock traffic, that's like a journey to Mordor away from the Palisades in LA. If I've ever been being an Inland Empire person, I bet you, I'd be willing to bet $50. Inland Empire has much more fires every year than the LA area. I know people who live in Orange County, that the air quality, once you start going to Orange County, God. Dude, Orange County, especially because I grew up almost Generation X and in like 80s rock and roll, Orange County was like lively, and there's the beach, and there's blondes, and there's people that actually, they have a vocabulary, and they're cool to chill with, man. And the Inland Empire, man, some scary dudes, right? But in Orange County here, the Party Central, the air quality is so much better than the Inland Empire, man. Orange County is like, I think, south of LA, and I hear LA is all smoggy or whatever. Palisades, that's like beachfront property, man. That's more humidity. That's like damn near tropical. It's freaking palm trees and stuff. I wouldn't say tropical, but it's just, it's a way better area that I wish I grew up at. And Inland Empire gets way more fires. And now LA finally got a dose of that to an apocalyptic degree, I hear. And that happened, like, so some random bum just knew that this year, at this time, at that location, aimed at that certain place, is going to be free. Some bum that is like the demoniac, the demon-possessed guy in the Gospels that Jesus healed the legions out of, that I see dancing around their freaking pile of trash that they're burning dumpsters with here in the Inland Empire, in one of the meth capitals of the USA. One of those guys knew, the weather forecast says this, with the alloys and compositions of things with molecular structure, this is a good time to go show those rich people and douchebag millionaires. Who's the boss? He. Out of the whole time I was here, it never dawned upon one of those malevolent indigents that, because another thing, as a person who's done security my whole life and have to kick out the homeless and all that, you know that one song, "Down by the River," whatever. I've seen people living by the Santa Ana River. Be I'm sure fires have happened there. I'm sure the sand and the water will put them out naturally. But a lot of those people, they're off the grid people. A lot of them were really quiet. They didn't want to draw a lot of attention to themselves, and they didn't want to get evicted out of a rent-free domain. So for them to make the problem worse of Karen eventually calling gentrification patrol to evict the homeless out of their rent-free place. Because I hear conservatives a lot about the homeless problem. Well, unless you legalize euthanasia or you want to throw them in FEMA camps or whatever, they're going to exist. Now, I concede there's a lot of indigents, transients, whatever you want to call it. A lot of them are there because they can't go home. Their family had to give up on them because they're like a demon-possessed, meth-headed demoniac. They can't go home. I mean, they're not going to go home. They can go home. If they could probably live with their parents rent-free, get off of drugs, get some kind of grant to go to community college. I don't see that, but I have seen, and I want to say it's not most of them. It's not most of them. But there is a bunch of people who they don't look, for lack of a better word, they don't look as retarded as they really are. They have some kind of major depression problem, or they're not playing with a full deck due to like growing up different or whatever, that they're not the kind of people, whether they're lazy or not, they can't really handle a full-time job because they're just like a little bit despondent, they're slow, and I knew some of them, they had no ambition. Like a few of them were really benevolent in that the average person, the average guy, if you're like, hey, you're just going to work at Walmart your whole life and go nowhere, his natural passions or desires for his hobbies, his pursuits, his romantic drive, all that, it's going to eventually burn him out. But I met some hippie ass dudes that really, they couldn't handle that 9 to 5. It was too like regimented, and they were used to a very transient life because they had like alcoholic parents, and they're looking dirty and disheveled at school, and they end up just staying at friends' houses all the time. And then the rest of their life is just, if they have some cigarettes, a skateboard, and eventual weed, they're happy. Those people, they're not the homeless people that are the problem. It's the meth addicts that are gonna freaking take a piss in front of your kids, and you're not allowed to knock them out, which you should be. And I'm sure if you did, a lot of people would just, no presses charges. Good for you. They deserve it. But that's a tangent. My whole spiel is that I'm back to the tangent. The rent and living cost in Southern California is so immense that if you're not able to, like, if you're not like driving your daddy's car, or you meet some fat sugar mama, or you know like auto mechanics, or like if you just go start working at a factory, man, if you're gonna get your own apartment and stuff like that, you're looking at eating top ramen, and you might as well say goodbye to a gym membership, dude, and you're probably riding the bus. And especially if you don't know how to do personal car repairs, you get the point. If you're not really able to integrate, and like I know this dude, he's on steroids. He's got this fat sugar mama he's constantly cheating on and lies to her face. Like, everybody's got this hustle, man. Like, or you'll see like, I know this one chick, she's like an RN, or she's like a nurse or whatever, and she doesn't she makes decent money, right? It's a stable job. It's still barely enough to afford where they're living at. That almost got burnt out a long time ago. This is Lake Elsinore, not a long time ago. This is within years. They also got evacuated one day. This is how common it is over here. But her dude is like this bad boy that, his Harley is always behind on tags, and but he's kind of down on his luck because he's been to jail before, but he's really good with his hands. So he can fix shit around that house. He can fix his own car. So he can learn to live off of less. What I'm trying to say is, the living cost in California is so hard to just like, well, I'll get a job at the local town factory. You're not going to have the white picket fence dream. You got to have a lot more going for you. That's a kind of a tangent, but I'm just saying. So that adds to the fact that so the homeless population is increasing. There's all these indigents and transients and meth addicts. I've been seeing all this my whole life, okay? But now finally, one of them got smart, deviously, ingenuity-wise enough in evil, to go traverse up those hills, know what specific time, place, and day that it would be the Santa Ana winds that are bombarding the rich area, and he came with a blowtorch, and he knew what trees to light on fire so that the wind would hit it, and it'd be really, really good tinder, and it'd be in proximity of other things that are going to catch the embers, right? And then with all the stuff he had, the gear that he had to acquire to get up there, he's going to have to now, on foot, run away. So I guess he knows the city really well. I know he knows where to ditch the gear, right? So he ran away from... So there wasn't some panting crackhead looking all dirty and ashy holding a blowtorch. Oh, wait, there was. That's right. They actually caught people setting dumpsters on fire, like basically or obviously adding to the mess, and they did catch indigents, and they did catch trespassers, and look this up. They did catch loiterers that were there to either loot or start more fires. Oh yeah, they did catch that, right? I understand that part. What I'm trying to say is, this sounds really organized, because whatever mischievous Antifa freaking terrorist ninja gang is up there with blowtorches starting this fire, whatever BlackRock or whatever funded them, whatever gave them the blowtorches, somebody knew that this is arson. Somebody knew the time, the place, the area, because again, as I'm saying, in the Inland Empire, this shit happens all the time. We have fires every fucking year, okay? And LA and Orange County get way better air quality than us. I'm willing to bet, I'm not a statistician. Someone Google, does Inland Empire get more fires than the LA and Orange County areas? Be more than willing to fucking bet at least $50, dude. We get so much fucking fires, it's annoying. You get fucking trapped. I barely go to the gym anymore. Fucking A. So, all these fucking bums with torches knew the right time, the right place, where the Santa Ana winds was going to funnel at. Because we get them too. We get the fucking Santa Ana winds and shit too. We get tumbleweeds the size of fucking cars going like this in the middle of the street. We get this shit where you're trying to use your iPod, I'm getting old, where you're trying to use your Bluetooth headset and it's like, it cuts out, or you're trying to drive somewhere and you're like, hey, how do I get to the chicken bucket place? Like, GPS signal lost. Rabbit fire warning. GPS signal lost. Gilman Springs is still closed because your life sucks. We get that shit all the fucking time. So out of fucking nowhere, guys, some random malevolent fentanyl addict, non-graduated from high school, whatever, right? Antisocial freaking bums knew the Santa Ana winds were gonna point their fucking fiery darts at LA, scrambled up those hills and coordinated where to strike the best tinder. They just so magically demons told a bunch of crackheads the best way to freaking navigate their way into those hills. Because this particular year, the Santa Ana winds, they're going to kick LA's ass more than where I'm at right now that usually gets that problem much, much fucking more. And what pisses me off about it is, I was driving on Gilman, this is January 12th, 2025. I was driving on Gilman Springs the other day, and most of it's closed again, or a quarter of it's closed again. You can Google Earth this shit. They're putting all these poles and shit up. I was like, they're putting up a fence. They close this shit down to put up a fucking fence because there's a lot of shit. There's fires there, right? So you think, oh, the government's like, no. We don't want people being able to freely roam by that lake and get firewood off these trees or go hiking or ride their dirt bikes up these hills. We don't want people freely going and taking their ATVs and riding them, on the dirt and all this stuff for their own protection, because maybe somebody's gonna, they can't just cut the fence and go light all this shit on fire, And then I remember one of my boring hiking trips that I've documented. I'm looking, 5 years ago, this wasn't here. Keep out. This is a wildlife restoration area. And I'm like, nah, man. Now that I'm older and I've been watching people like, Tucker Carlson and Joe Rogan and stuff, I'm like, nah, bro. You're closing this off because it's tax-free. It's for our own safety and for wildlife restoration. Bullshit. That somebody out here was taking their kid and teaching them how to bow and arrow, probably going boar hunting. This is by the Santa Ana River. There's a lot of wild boars there at certain times of year. So where you could go get free food, go teach your kid boar hunting for free, where people used to go in the summer and they used to go relax in that dirty ass Santa Ana River water. You're just kind of blocking that off because people aren't paying tax money to be there. You're going to say it's for their own safety, as if some badass dad who knows bow hunting and shit can't defend his own family. It's just, and I don't try to go camping in the more designated places of Idlewild because I have to be around a bunch of loud ass annoying activity when people snot-nosed kids running around and like blaring ignorant ass music and shit, because that area is where it's designated to light a campfire. So we're sacrificing all this freedom. It's just like California is becoming a place where I do my 9 to 5, I stay in traffic smoking a vape for fucking 2 hours, then I go to a busy ass gym full of thoughts and douchebags, then I go home and watch Netflix or worse. So we can't do nature shit no more because obviously some sentient, malevolent, demonized crackhead finally became aware enough that all this time, ever since I've been a little kid, going hiking in Kern River Valley and, the Santa Ana River, Big Bear Mountain, they finally wised up that they can finally revenge the man. They can finally stick it to the man. They can finally show all these privileged people, you know, that the misery that they endure every day. They finally wised up, became Bear Grylls, got a backpack from like Ross or the last Kmart in town, stuffed a bunch of fire equipment in there, and enough fucking like candy bars and water to go all up those hills, and they knew right time, place, season, date, because even though they never liked school and they just like stayed home smoking pot before doing meth, they followed the weather reports. They looked for the best spot that was precariously combustible. It's like, what I'm trying to say is, that kid that tried to assassinate Donald Trump, that was on that BlackRock commercial, he's not some freaking SEAL Team 6 genius, but somebody put him up to it. So if there was arson that just happened in California and they use it as another excuse that Smokey the Bear is supposed to come out and whoop your ass for making campfires, starting firecrackers, shooting something in your backyard, going camping or hiking where you want, being able to walk to that lake if you had to or want to from Gilman Springs, because it looks like they're making like an 8 or 9 foot fence or something. I mean, always out of nowhere some miraculous catastrophe happens, and it's the reason why we have to be locked in our houses, wear a mask, get a jab shoved up our ass, or take a fucking mark of the beast chip. I'm kind of getting sick of fucking people who are douchebag aristocrats having some fucking pseudo arbitrary authority, being able to tell us what the fuck to do. This is another tangent, but okay, San Jacinto, California, okay? There was a shooting in the middle of the street last July, 2024, okay? I was like, you know what? I bet with all the people around there, I was in town that day. I was like, with all the people around there that's only concern, their only concern is like how their new rims look on their Bentley as they're gonna go buy a new Kobe Bryant jersey and hopefully catch the Super Bowl. I was probably the only person that like knew what the Second Amendment was within a block away radius, and I'm usually right there at that donut shop. Like I was probably like, I could probably have gotten famous for interdicting, like my small ass YouTube channel. I could have got famous for like interdicting a mass shooter, and then like been on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then eventually on the Expendables. I know it's funny, whatever. Daydreaming keeps you alive. It keeps you one foot going above the other. But anyways, so I was probably the only like person that knew that Abraham Lincoln wasn't in the Bible, and that like that America was about 200 years old, and we have something called the Second Amendment. But again, all my tools of human protection, out of respect for the law and fear of consequence, and I don't want to have to get booked, go to jail, they have to guess my race, I have to put in work, catch another 20 years, get a bunch of face tattoos. Instead of going down that road and getting a felony and losing my job, I took all my protective gear, dismantled it, locked it away, shoved it up my ass, and you know, put a sticker that said "cuck" all over, because they're shitting on our fucking our Constitution. We're all this year, with all the terrorism going on in New York, the border crisis, all this spontaneous Mother Nature whooping your ass, and then people that you're stuck in gridlock traffic, they like leave their car in front of yours so that you're blocked, get suffocated by the, and then you're on fire in the subway, but no one cares to help you, and then you're getting your ass kicked by a bunch of people that it's politically incorrect or volatile to stand up to. So you're just gonna whip out your cell phone and watch their democracy. Since we live in a day and age, how volatile, how precarious, how vulnerable we are, we're, for our own benefit, you have to get a jab shoved up your ass. You have to get an RDFI chip shoved up your. You have to take all the tools to defend your family, dismantle it, wrap it up, lock it up, and shove it up your ass, and wait for the Zodiac killer to freaking, God forbid, torture your shit. Another tangent. I knew this weirdo goth chick, and she always liked serial killer documentaries. One thing I've learned from having to sit through her stupid shit, we're like eating dinner, I'm like, can we please watch like Adam Sandler or Chris Farley? And she's like, you're not cool, you're not, you're not tough, like, oh, like supposedly abusing your eyes and ears makes you tougher. So what I learned from watching all that shit is if anybody has you at gunpoint or they're coercing you, here, put these handcuffs on, or put this, trust me, I'll just be a minute. They're not. They get off on torturing people. They love people. It's better to go out right then and there and possibly get shot, die with honor, create a huge noise, diversion, possibly get resuscitated later. God forbid, right? That doesn't have to happen. But usually when people have control over you, they take it to sadistic extremes. And it almost seems like that's how the bureaucrats and the politicians are doing with all our stuff, guys. They wouldn't have done this to the 1776 Tea Party, George Washington days Americans. I'll tell you that. And another tangent, another epiphany. There's no payphones anymore. We're all stuck on this. Cell phone. So if we wanted to organize some kind of Paul Revere situation to take our country back, it'd just probably get fucking canceled. So anyways, guys, what do you think about like Zuckerberg supposedly becoming more what's that called? Libertarian. Not libertarian. You know what I mean? Hopefully Big Daddy Trump fixes all this mess. I lost my train of thought. The only thing I'm telling you what is already obvious, guys, because about how it couldn't have been, it had to have been a coordinated, organized, planned ordeal if this is arson in Southern California, because I already elaborated how difficult or how unlikely it would be for some random crackhead and his friends to have the mental wherewithal to go code for go find the best Tinder location, time, and place. I'm not a meteorologist, but as far as I understand, the Inland Empire usually gets a lot more Santa Ana wind fury. Okay? I know people saw that movie Escape from LA, and they're riding on these kites because of the Santa Ana winds. Look, man, like I said, I bet $50 the Inland Empire gets a lot more fucking fires, and no bum is gonna know that this year the Santa Ana winds are more so gonna funnel themselves to the LA side. How hard it is to traverse up those hills if you don't love doing that shit on the daily for like exercise and stuff like that. That a person like me who's like a freaking somewhat of an outdoor enthusiast has trouble making campfires in the freaking desert. Go figure. Like, oh, you just suck at camping. Dude, whatever, man. I made those freaking videos. The last 4 videos I put California Fire. It's a playlist. I just made it. California Fire. It's 4 videos I just found out of my ass. Shows how much I'm around fire. I know how to make a cooking fire. There, at the very last video, you see in the distance, like a whole damn city is glowing red. They shut the freeways off. How annoyed people like me are with these fires because, again, trying to listen to your Bluetooth, you're trying to find where the grocery store is, and it goes GPS signal lost. Rabbit fire warning. Not rabid or ravid. Rabbit fire. What the fuck is that? And how, like, now, oh man, you're not going to be allowed to start campfires now. Oh man, nature restoration area. For your own safety, you no longer can take your kid out here to teach them boat hunting or possibly slay a wild boar to feed your family and, exercise and train traditional American frontier ethics. Just getting sick and tired of us being told what the fuck to do, man. They're going to use all these catastrophes that, honestly, I don't want to sound insensitive, but I'm going to start ditching the video or reading some comments, but you drive through California, I'm kind of amazed that these $1 million houses are built there because when you look at all the hills in California, it's a bunch of thorn bushes. It's like a bunch of thorn bushes, a bunch of like itchy straw shit that is horrible to walk through, because to wear the freaking BDUs to being able to walk through all that shit, the heat's gonna kick your ass now, dude. I've probably almost died hiking in Idlewild because there's no path. There's no fresh vegetation. You spend so much energy. You spend so much fucking energy going a few yards for the way you have to zigzag through shit full of like poison ivy and like, voila, there's one cactus, man. Let's try to, make food out of it. Like, oh, dude. And then, like, there's nowhere to sit. And all I'm saying is some crackheads that had a vendetta against society really, really, all of a sudden had the bright idea this whole time. They're going to go up the Palisades, fucking start a fire. It's just going to magically, like, oh man, God really hates Sodom and Gomorrah, man. He's sitting there waiting for those crackheads to be sentient enough to traverse up there. So, he was going to blow the winds this way in the Inland Empire as usual, but he just turned his face and helped them out, and they knew it. Or if it's arson, it's organized. And I have to say that because, like, a lot of people don't live in California. Even the people who do live in California, because even though they see all that shit that can light on fire when they're driving the roads, they're kind of just like, watching Netflix on their car and with their vape. In California, people they only care about, like, after my 9-to-5 work job, I sit in my Bentley and smoke a vape while being stuck in traffic for godless years. But it's okay. Daddy got me air conditioning, and I can't wait to buy that Kobe Bryant jersey and those new Air Jordans. And then, this Tuesday, you get the fucking about. I'm going to, and that's all they care about. And they don't know. People on my Facebook friends, I know Facebook sucks. They're like, be careful. They think that California is constantly a barrage of a tsunami, earthquake, tsunami, vulnerable gay parade of filth and fires and earth the shark from the movie Jaws. You can't even go swimming. And they're always like family from Ohio. Now you be careful out there in the Wild West. And I'm like, no, no, it's not that bad. Earthquakes are fun. There's not random bums just crapping all over the street with their pecker out. The cops will beat their ass. And this whole time, if this is global warming, so all of a sudden with the hurricanes here, oh yeah, so we supposedly don't have weather manipulation technology, right? Like Joe Rogan knows that that shit exists. We have cloud seeding. Bill Gates wants to fucking basically block out the sun. He wants to like diminish the sun's rays by 15%. Some technology so that look it up so that supposedly global warming will go down. It's not global warming, man. I basically grew up in California. And if it's arson, this whole time, dude, we knew some crazy dude that lit a possum and their babies on fire. We weren't there to prevent it. And people like him, during that whole Generation X era, where people really like loved death metal and they were into like vandalizing shit. I knew a dude that threw a wet stuffed animal over into a street and caused a major collision and almost killed people. Fuckers like him, all of a sudden, became cognizant and smart enough to go, hey, if I just Bear Grylls it up those Palisade fucking hills on this specific fucking day that the winds are going to be kicking it over there, and I find the right precarious, combustible, conducive place to start and make a fire with some friends. We don't have the ambition or the energy to like go to the gym, jog a mile, look for work. But we're all of a sudden going to get all this shit together and to go up the hills randomly because we hate society and find the places they all of a sudden had that idea. Now, I believe it's arson. I do. I'm just saying, someone directed them, someone knew the right day, the right time, the right place, the right techniques. Because it's not easy to start a fire. They knew. Somebody fucking knew how to make this the worst case scenario. And whether or not the leaders, the governor, the mayor, whether or not they know they're just dumbass puppets and someone shit on them, it's like this. It's like someone's like this. It's like some bureaucrat, some Illuminati motherfucker, some deep state motherfucker, some whatever. They're like, oh, these people wanted Trump, huh? Like lots of people voted for Trump in California. They didn't buy our bullshit. They don't want Kamala Harris. They don't want the blue shit, the blue state shit. They don't want that, huh? Well, it's time to turn. If the people don't want us, it's time to turn against the people. It's obvious that someone did that shit. Remember in Maui, very not long ago, remember how Oprah and The Rock had this commercial that regular people like you who are eating top ramen so that your kids can have shit in their stocking last Christmas? You know, people like you are they feel guilty for buying Starbucks every day because they knew they could have probably bought their kid like an extra video game last Christmas because the economy sucked. Well, people like you need to donate to help the people in Maui because so millionaires like Oprah or Zuckerberg or whoever can buy the land that sporadically finally combusted that bad because it's global warming's fault. We told you. The locals are displaced. Now some rich person owns the fucking land, makes like a freaking bunker, like a freaking luxury bunker to survive the apocalypse or some shit, right? So that didn't happen with like the hurricane around Appalachia. That didn't happen. That didn't happen here in California. That's not happening. That's not coordinated. So all this shit, like these hurricanes, these earthquakes, all this like supposed pandemics, these fires, all these sudden sporadic natural catastrophes and migrant crime, right? It's only happening now. It's only happening now because the Mayan prophecy, right? Or like how I believe more traditional Christian thing, but like how like the modern doomsday evangelicals are, God's gonna burn California. It's Sodom and Gomorrah, and these are the apocalyptic days of the Book of Revelation. All of a sudden, I mean, going back in my life, we had the Gulf War, Schwarzkopf. We had, I think the Cuban Missile Crisis was before my time. All this shit. There's always been major fucking chaos going on. All of a sudden, we have fucking drones, UAPs. At the same time, we have natural catastrophes. At the same time, we have migrant crime, lighting people on fire in their sleep in New York subways. And we have people getting killed or stabbed or raped in public. And the passerbys are just filming it, And so we have all that shit going on now because the Mayans predicted it. This is natural, right? Global warming. Mother Nature's pissed off. It's coordinated. It's fucking coordinated. I've been alive for a long time, and thank God, I hope a lot of crazy shits happen, 9/11, all that stuff. A lot of crazy shits happen, and it's never been this whack. It's never been this what the fuck. It's almost like the deep state or the Illuminati or our powers that be. Once they saw how united the internet makes us, how a Tower of Babel, if you will. Once they saw how you could get everyone on a grid, you could control a narrative, you control numbers, your social security, your bank, whatever the fuck, track you. Once they started realizing they could have that much control over you through just pushing buttons, they're like, this is a good time to start a bunch of shit, to scare a bunch of people into thinking they need our bullshit and we have the elixir. I don't know, guys. All I know is my whole point is, if this is arson in California, someone organized, planned, and knew how to make this worse. They knew the sciences to create a perfect storm, a red tempest, if you will, whatever. You get the point. Because these regular meth addicts who light their shit on fire and run around naked, yell at nothing, they're not sophisticated enough to create a fire that big, knowing the time of year, the right time, right place, nor are they ambitious or physically fit enough to traverse to the precarious areas that would catalyze such a major catastrophe. And all it's going to do is make people like me like, oh, you can't start campfires. All it's going to do is going to be like, oh, this is global warming's fault. You shouldn't like gas or diesel powered vehicles. That's all it's going to do, man. And honestly, I'm just so mad at how either pacifistic with a sin of omission, omissive or whatever, how pacifistic, omissive, ignorant, blind, or malevolent, devious it has to be to put up with that shit. You guys want to see a picture of how a person I know? Okay, I want to show you how major of a fire or whatever this was, right? Um, let me try to find it with the text. Okay, so check this out. Trying to see if I don't give any of my personal information accidentally away. It was like a Wednesday. Okay, I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was Tuesday. Tuesday, I'm nocturnal. I hear there's going to be wind. There's going to be fires. The very next. Okay, try to give you a scale. It has to be like within the first 4 hours between not within a work day's time. You know how you go to work, you have a shift, 8 hours, 10, 12 hours. When the fires were just starting, within a work shift's time, that happened to my cousin's house. And this is another relative telling me your cousin, blah blah blah, shit, fucking bird, something about God and the devil. Now, let me get. Look. I'm not going to insult your intelligence. I'm not trying to get religious at you, but if you believe in religious or spiritual, I'm going to tell you something you already know. If someone out there is like, California is evil, or California is sinful, or they're anti-God, and that's why God did this to them or let it happen. Let me tell you how I think if you believe in that realm or that paradigm, this is a yes and no, okay? If the California people didn't care to evict, if they knew Gavin Newsom, okay, if this is really the governor and the mayor's fault, if they really said no in hoarding all that water, I heard about this a long time ago, that there is water from up north that can give California unlimited water supply. I like long showers. I like going to the gym where they can clean the pool and the spa every day. Okay, so I was really into that, right? So Trump says because they had to save the smelt fish. I heard this from a different reason a long time ago. I believe Trump. What do I know? So they had all that free water that could have packed the reservoirs, right? So the firefighters didn't have any water to work with, right? Because from what I hear, what I heard, this is anecdotal, they don't want Californians to have lots of water because they want to be able to meter, like budget or tax or fine or charge what you're getting already. They want to make it seem like there's a drought. They want to blame things on global warming. It's a narrative. It's part of some kind of narrative that they don't want you to have all this free access to that shit because you're gonna have a green lawn and all this other shit where for some fucking reason, look what happened. Just look at. They didn't want the fucking water. For whatever reason, they didn't want the water in the reservoir. So the firefighters, they don't have any fuel to put out the fire, okay? And if this is the fault of the leadership, right? And if people know that the leaderships are doing things that not only are like morally unethical, right? Like if you're a conservative, you've already heard what I'm talking about. Look at it, whether you're not a conservative, okay? If statistically illegal migrant crime is catalyzing a bunch of terrorism or assaults against women and children, and if deviancy being exposed to kids, if you believe that, which I'm sure, unless you're a weirdo, you do, if all this deviancy and all this precarious circumstances, they're allowing this influx, this flow of things that could damage the American people, hurt their posterity, drive the wages down, hurt the economy, create position. If they're giving money so that illegal immigrants can have free shit when their own civilians are suffering, I want to go on a tangent. Then obviously they are contributing to evil. And if you don't remove that evil, it's a torrent that comes down from the top down. Since we let these weeds survive and thrive in this state, they were a liability. And if you're an American citizen, I want to tell you something personal from my heart, please. Like, look it, I was born in this country, yada yada, right? That's not yada yada. I take it very seriously, more seriously than you know. I'm not gonna talk about myself. What I want to make this about is, okay, I'm a second generation, whatever the fuck. So I'm trying to plead with you Americans, please understand something about all this political correctness that's being imposed upon you, please. Most people and if you live in America, if you're American through and through, speak English, all that stuff, you need more than you really need to survive, to have a life at all. There's a saying: if you have no car, no money, there's no honey. If you don't have a car, you're not going to be able to be there for. You're not going to. If you don't have a bunch of shit going for you in this country, and you don't have luxuries of like a nice house, a nice vehicle, respect in your community, good material wealth, health, style, humor, wit, rapport, social skills, work skills. If you don't have all that, you can still breathe, you can still eat, you can still exist. Are you going to marry the woman of your dreams? Probably not. Are you going to be happy and fulfilled? Probably not. Are you going to have like respect or good customer service or reciprocated cordiality and manners? Eventually you're going to run into some stupid shit that's going to piss you off. But in other countries, do you notice that a lot of people of demographics that weren't born in America, they have stuff, man. Like in their country, Esmeralda is beautiful. She might need to shave her legs once in a while, or has a unibrow or something. She might, not always make the goat sandwich with the right amount of salsa or kimchi or fucking whatever the fuck other countries eat. But as long as the shaman is there and the village people put some huts together, and Mr. Valdez comes around the corner with his donkey and his coffee, and as long as you get off your ass and you farm a little bit, even no one cares. No one's going to make fun of your kid for not having the newest Nikes in that country. No, but your wife isn't somewhere giving some CEO Starbucks with her boobs hanging out with a bunch of people flirting with her and telling her that, and with the idea that she could just take your alimony and go be a cougar once the last kid graduates high school, okay? In those other countries, you put two sticks together and make a fucking hut. You have you go off to the field. The elders make sure that nobody's touching your chick, right? Freaking, you're dependent on nature. Nobody's laughing at you or making fun of you for having a Pinto or a small beat up car. Nobody's gonna give you rude customer service where you have to go to get lunch or fix your stuff or buy something. No one, there's not going to be some like rude ass chick. You're at a hardware store. You got a legitimate question about some product you need that they're lacking or backstock, and you have this like ditzy like, oh my god, don't talk to me. Like, I just work here, okay? Like, in other countries, they don't have to deal with that shit. They're Esmeralda or freaking whatever their domesticated housewife in those countries. She's not reading 50 Shades of Grey. She's not fetching the CEO coffee with her boobs hanging out, being hit on and whistled at every day. She doesn't have Cosmo magazine and Oprah or whatever other celebrity telling her or glamorizing, or Hollywood glamorizing Sex in the City, that she can just walk on a treadmill, do some squats, go on some keto diets, and go get used by a bunch of younger losers on your alimony check at the local bar. And again, you as an American citizen, you need to have a nice car. You need to have like status. You need to have a few bucks in your pocket. You need to be able to have the energy to work your job and then go take your chick dancing so a bunch of other dudes can look at her. Or you have to have, you got to make sure that your kid isn't the dude that has the cheapest cleats on his sports team to make you look bad. And you every fucking year you got to worry about what her mother-in-law and dad are doing for Christmas and who to buy gifts for this and that. While you don't have to. Again, you're feeling guilty. You're feeling guilty because you stopped and had a beer and had Starbucks for the third time in a row this week, because that's extra gas money or something that you could be taking. Your wife is going to say she wants to go out, your kid's going to want this product. Again, you have to keep up with the Joneses. You have to pay mortgage. You have to worry about the insurance companies that never come through, right? You got to make sure that you have the energy to take your family to church. So hopefully your kids don't come out like slutty or emo or some weird shit. You do all, and meanwhile, in indigenous or in remote or other places in the world, all they have to worry about is if they had enough firewood to make the freaking beans and rice okay. I don't care if I sound racist. I'm not full white. I don't fucking care. I don't want to disclose my freaking half the side of my family comes from a third world country, war torn, all that shit. I don't care if you don't believe me. I'm trying to help out citizens of America who are fucking American. I'm not trying to say you can't come from a foreign country or migrate here legally. I'm not trying to say if you were a part of some indigenous demographic that was naturally here before the Anglo-Saxon Protestant or the white man or the Christians took over this country. And another tangent. If Anglo-Saxon Protestants or Catholics or whatever, conquistadors or whatever, if they didn't come and take care of these two continents called the Americas, North and South, eventually, Joseph Stalin or Hirohito is going to find out that the Americas exist. And when Joseph Stalin or Hirohito, with their Bushido and Soviet ways, when they come take this land and they use the natural resources to start being a global empire, there's no peaceful protest. There's no peaceful multiple million man march to the Capitol. There's no like alleged January 6th. There's not really enough resources for a Boston Tea Party to stop what Hirohito or Joseph Stalin is going to do to the rest of the world. Or Hitler, if he succeeded. The tiny mustache man, Uncle Joseph Stalin, or Hirohito, found the Americas before, the Europeans that found America that did. The whole world would be enslaved or annihilated. And both. Just saying. But my whole spiel, the whole point of the video is to illustrate how hard it is for random crackheads to go start those fires. It's organized. Somebody's behind it. What are they going to rebuild from all these ashes? 10-minute city, more what are those propellers that generate supposed alleged eco-friendly energy, right? Is California, with this problem they have now, are they still going to be so mad if people don't want to take a vaccine? Is this monkeypox thing? Do we still have to wear a mask for that? We're going to have another pandemic shutdown in 2035. Is it really that important if I can't no longer have a fossil fuel driven vehicle? Is it really that important now, Mr. Gavin Newsom? There's a bird flu, right? Another pandemic, right? What was it, Mr. Governor? I need a mask to have a job, right? What was the kind of jobs I can't get now because I didn't want to get vaxxed? What happened, right? Wait. What do I have to keep paying the government again every couple years to work? What license or what was it again, right? With all the looting and all the volatility and all the impending rampant crime and the terrorist attack that we had in San Bernardino, I think in 2015, Mr. Governor Newsom, to protect my own self and those around me, how am I supposed to store my weapons? What was it again? Like the Second Amendment should be infringed, right? What was that, Mr. Governor Newsom? The Second Amendment should be infringed, right? So if I'm driving a work vehicle with a bunch of different shit, and I might have eventual tools that can afford me protein food or protect myself or my loved ones or other benevolent passerbys, how am I supposed to wrap that away, dismantle it, lock it up, jam it up my ass, or surrender it to what was it now? Like illegal alien police, right? DEI. We're gonna have illegal immigrant police, and not enough people, right? What was that, Mr. Governor? Not enough people voted blue, right? So we need to open the borders, right? They don't need a vaccine though, right? They get all these vouchers for free motels and stuff like that, right? But this one Vietnam veteran that I had to sadly tell that at 6 a.m. in the morning, another security guard was going to tell him that he needs to go fucking die somewhere else, and he needs to go freeze his ass off and lose sleep elsewhere. He doesn't get that, right? He doesn't get that, but Esmeralda's evil cousin gets that, right? Right? Our own citizens don't get that, right? So if you're illegal, you can come here, start a business, get all these vouchers, get all these discounts, free shit. A lot of shit don't apply to you. You do all this crime, not get deported, but if you're a U.S. citizen, you can't carry, and you have to have all these regulations. You can't really start a business without these taxes and whatever trade. If you want to sell flowers on the side of the street, if you want to sell tacos on the side of the street, you got to get like a permit from the government, right? All that kind of shit. Is that really important right now, Mr. Governor? That's really that's really important, right? I'm a pretty relatively healthy middle-aged person, Every 2 years, I have to keep proving and repay for some certifications and shit like that just to hold down a fucking job in this overcrowded ass stink pit full of prehistoric flies and sweltering heat that causes relentless fires and jams of freeways that you can't that you like you put enough money in the freeway just to lock people out of being able to go walk in the fucking wilderness and shit. But I mean, compared to Arizona, getting your the DMV rules are so much more lax. Why is that really so important now, Mr. Governor? Really, we have to do all this stupid shit. Is that really all pandemic bird flu? So wait, sorry, Mr. Governor Newsom, you were saying before all this shit happened, there's a bird flu, right? What do we have to do? We have to lock shit down, wear a fucking mask again? What? Is that really the biggest problem? Global warming's the biggest fucking problem, right? In 2020, the winter, 2019, 2020, that was a cold ass winter. What is all these fucking chemtrails? Why is it still like fucking warm? Why was there still fucking flies today in California? This is the Inland Empire. There's not flies in wintertime. Why the fuck was it? What is all this like airplanes and shit that keep spraying all this shit every fucking morning? I see these fucking, what do they call it, chemtrails, right? What the fuck is that, Mr. Newsom? It's fucking annoying. It really is. The government, it's like a diaper. The government is always on your ass. The government is like a diaper. Always on your ass and usually full of shit. Have a good one, fellas. I guess I gotta get going. This whole video was the common sense explanation of if the California wildfires are started by arson, there's somebody organizing, teaching, instructing, helping the arsonist. And I explain fucking why. I'm telling you. Have a good one.